everyone and welcome back to my channel and Zeus's channel as well. Today is going to be one of those videos in which I sit down here and talk to you casually about the books I'm currently reading, because I am currently reading 6 novels, which is way too many. I normally prefer reading at the most 3 novels at a time. The thing is that yesterday I had a very relaxing day at home in the shadow. I did not go outside into the heat, so I stayed inside the whole day and I read, and it was the best day ever. And what I did is that I didn't constrict myself to just read one book, because I knew I would grow tired of that story eventually. So I decided to treat myself a little bit with some of the new books I have just bought, and I read a lot of them. Some of the books I love more than others, which I will tell you about in a moment. But as I was saying, I'm currently reading 6 books, and the one that I consider my main read these days, because it's the one I'm the most interested in and the one I keep on picking up whenever I want to read, that is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, an adult fantasy novel. So in this book we follow our main character who wants to get into this academy. In the first chapter we hear about her struggles because she's from a society that is very, very poor, and normally the people who get into this academy are the privileged people who have access to money and knowledge and can just use all their free time to study. That's not our main character. Basically, she lives in a family in which she has to sell opium, and she does not like her foster parents. She is a war orphan herself. One day she is told that she has to be married away, so this is basically a forced marriage. She is not into that, so she decides to study for this test that will give her access to this academy. Needless to say, this test is extremely hard. You really have to know everything about a lot of things. In the first chapter you will find out whether she succeeds or not. But as I was saying, this book is just magical in its setting, and I like how it drags you in. It's written in a way that is very easy to read. Even though it's a fantasy novel, you want to know about this setting and this country divided into 12 provinces, I believe it is. We also have some magical creatures, which I haven't gotten to yet, but people have told me that they will appear. So yeah, this one is my main read. I am currently 181 pages into it, and it's one that I can't put down. Whenever I read it, I want to keep on reading, so that's a really good sign so far. Zeus, do you agree? Yeah, he agrees. Next we have a book which is a thriller, and I've been reading this one for the past week. I am halfway through it now, so it's one of those books I had already picked up before I had my relaxing reading day yesterday. But the book is Karin Slaughter's The Good Daughter, my first Karin Slaughter read, and I have to say the first chapter blew me away, and then I made it to the second chapter, which blew me away even more, because this book plays with some of my personal fears, which is intriguing to read about, but it also scares me a lot. I am reading this book slowly because it creeps me out. It's eerie and it's bloody, and it's not for the faint of hearted. I mean, if all of Karin Slaughter's books are like this, I'm not going to be able to read them one after another, because it's very hard on you to read about these experiences that they are so gruesome that you can't even imagine it. And yeah, so this book is one I'm definitely enjoying, but I'm reading it slowly, mostly because of the very gruesome plot, but also because the chapters are pretty long, and I don't really like that in books when they are 30 or 40 pages long, because I don't like to stop in the middle of a chapter, so I feel like I need to have plenty of time to read whenever I pick up this book. But of course I will stop in the middle of a chapter if I have to. I'm not saying that's not the case, but I'm feeling hot right now, so I'm rambling a little bit. But needless to say, this is my second current read, and as I said, I'm halfway through it. I'm currently on page 276. I also decided to pick up The Book of Essie by Megan McLean Weir, which I had already read the first chapter of. So while that chapter was fresh in my mind, I wanted to pick up this book and read the rest of it. And so far, yesterday, I made it to page 46, so I'm not too much into it. But from what I've read, I'm loving it. I love how the first chapter was told from the perspective of Essie, but then the second and third chapters are told from other people's perspectives, and their perspectives are very different from Essie's. I like how it plays with different viewpoints and how this very religious family is looked upon by other people. This is the book that deals with this very religious family who are also reality TV stars. They have their own TV show and they've been doing this show for all of Essie's life. Essie is our main character and she's also the youngest of the family. And when we meet her in this novel, she's about, I think, 16 years old. So it's been going on for quite a while, and I like how it plays with the life of religious people who do not believe in materialism and who want to go to church and pray for their people. And then meanwhile it also deals with this TV show which puts glitter into their lives and makes them famous nationally. This cover though, I'm not too much of a fan of the glitter on the title. I don't think it works very well. I mean, I get why it's there because the glitter is the TV reality show compared to the religious life of our main character. Nevertheless, I'm very much enjoying this book and I'm eager to get even further into it. But because I'm reading so many books at the same time, I have no idea how long it will actually take me to finish this book. But so far, I'm definitely enjoying it. Then I couldn't wait anymore. I had to pick up this book because I was too curious. And that is Clock Dance by Anne Tyler. I am currently, let me see, 77 pages into this one. And I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. I mean, this book, The Book of Essie and The Puppy War are my favorites. This book is about a family of a husband and wife and their two daughters. The first chapter is told from the viewpoint of the eldest daughter. And apparently this family is very dysfunctional because they are once again left alone by their mother. Their mother has a temper and she often escapes and just leaves the family for days. Since this is told from the daughter's viewpoint, we hear about her insecurities and her worries about what is really going on because their father won't really tell them what is actually going on. Although we as readers do know what has happened because he does give us some hints. But it's not hints that a child is able to understand. And then this book also skips forward so that each chapter takes place about 10 years afterwards, which makes it very interesting to see how these girls grow up and become their own independent women. Even though I'm not too far into it yet, I don't know if it will actually go back in time again. But I like how it jumps in time and I think it makes for a great narrative. A typical Anne Tyler book that I know I'm going to love. And it's one that I really want to devour right away. But once again, I can't really do that with all of the other books on my list that I'm currently reading. Zeus! Hi! So here's a new angle for you because it turned out when I tried to edit this video that the last bit of my video was blurry and I don't like that. So we are refilming this. I need a drink first because it's currently 7:30 in the evening and while they have promised a thunderstorm tonight, which I'm looking very much forward to, it's still pretty hot. So cheers to all of you. If you have a drink next to you, now is the time to take a sip. Right, Zeus? Oh, Zeus left. Anyway, the last two books that I didn't get to in my last clip are both books that I'm reading on my Kindle. First one being Dear Mrs. Bird by A.J. Pierce. I'm about 26% into that one. It's a book that I'm struggling a little bit with because it's very different from what I was expecting. This is basically a chick lit set in 1940s London, which means that it takes place during the Second World War. London has begun to experience raids every night. There is a lot of talk about Hitler, and a lot of young girls' boyfriends have been sent abroad as soldiers. It's a very peculiar contrast between the chick lit genre and this heavy war that is going on that definitely puts a heavy ambience on things. And while I find that contrast interesting, I feel like the protagonist of this book is a bit too fluffy and too naive for my taste when it comes to what is actually going on in the world. She is not focused on anything besides herself and her plans for her career, and she makes some decisions that she quickly regrets, which I don't really care about those decisions. That's one problem, but I also feel like she's a bit too fluffy. The genre is a bit too much like chick lit, and I don't like the heavy contrast with the war. It feels like she is ignoring the war, and I know that maybe it's a way to cope with what is happening because it's hard to think about her boyfriend abroad, etc. But I'm just not into it, so I have put that book on hold for a little bit. I will pick it up again eventually, but some of the other books I've been talking about are my priority. I didn't even give you a very good synopsis of this book, but read that on Goodreads because I don't feel like talking about it anymore. I would rather talk about the last book I'm currently reading, and that is Record of a Spaceborne Few by Becky Chambers, which is the third and last book in her series set in space. The first book I read some years ago, the one called The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I loved that one. I've also read the second one, which is more of a companion novel, and I liked that one but didn't love it. And now this, the third one, I'm only 5% into because I think that I had started too many books on that day, and maybe this was a mistake, but I was just curious to get started because this is a very new release and I've been waiting for it for a couple of months now. So while I'm only 5% into it, I have every intention to continue reading. Those 5% just didn't grab me quite enough to keep on reading. I once again rather wanted to read some of the other books I'm currently reading. So that basically means that I'm currently reading 6 books, but 4 of those are physical books, and it seems like they are the novels that I'm the most interested in, and they are the ones that I keep on picking up whenever I want to read. I think they might be the ones I will finish the quickest, but we will have to wait and see. Let's have another sip because I'm sweaty. Oh, that feels good. Do you do this as well in the heat? I don't know. Cheers again. I could really use some rain. They have promised lots and lots of rain tonight. So if that happens, I will dance outside on the streets in the rain, that's for sure. So I guess that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will of course be back again tomorrow with a new video, so look out for that. Thank you so much for watching and happy reading.